Alan, again, as a TI targeted individual. Hope you guys are doing good. It's Saturday. And just talking about my V2K stuff. If you're a targeted individual, well, the thing in the news lately that has gotten everybody's attention for the last few years has been Havana syndrome, which is what targeted individuals have been talking about since the 80s, 90s. CNN, I think I got one on my YouTube channel, a show from 1985 about CNN doing a documentary on microwave radiation weapons. And I don't know if it's called psychonics or what term they used, but they were talking about this even back in 1985, how this weapon could be used, microwave radiation, with sound, without sound, to burn people, to knock planes out of the air, just knock them. All these multi-million-dollar aircraft can be disabled just by an electronic pulse, just knocking it out, or paralyzing the electronic equipment aboard to where they can't, it just knocks everything all to hell to where they can't communicate, shocks all the electronics to where it can't fix itself, or all that kind of stuff. Anyway, this stuff has been going on since, before, obviously, 1985. I mean, it's been working. Some of the stuff's been since the 60s and 70s that they've been working on. I have it on my YouTube, I think, 1985. But it's just getting some attention because of Havana syndrome. What's interesting is that these news agencies that have done such a marvelous job of silencing any discussion about it, for whatever reason, it's almost like our government's wanting and is pumping up a story to happen every few months, where another diplomat or ever since 2016, so it's going on for about 5-6 years now, 6-7 years now, going on. And they just keep, and it's like they want this to get out because, and at the same time, they even have the Elon Musk Neuralink, and people have been working on that. And that's been in competition with different technologies of mind, in essence, mind reading, where they can read the silent muscular signatures of somebody talking, or just very vague way of phrasing things. When you have V2K and synthetic telepathy, I think Michael F. Bell has a book called The Invisible Crime 1, and there's 2 books, The Invisible Crime Part 1 and then Part 2. And he talks about this stuff and synthetic telepathy and the whole, how if you're not in this program, you wouldn't believe it's real. You wouldn't believe you just wouldn't. You wouldn't believe it's possible. And it's like, well, I would have heard it. We all would have heard about it. There'd been tons of people talking about it. There'd be books out there. And the thing is, there are people talking about it. The news is getting out. There are books out there being written about this. And even once in a great while, something on the news, but none of that, or on the radio, Freedom for Targeted Individuals or different justice. There have been different groups that have gotten on radio to talk about this, and to their credit, thankfully. And it's like a book I just was reading that had gotten off and read on Kindle was the Radiohead protocols. It describes a gentleman named, I think it's Puharich, or Puharich, and how he started with a brilliant scientist and philosopher, but that he started with a microwave, attempting to make a device or a type of surgery for radio, or for hearing deaf people. So find a new way using nerve conduction, bone conduction for people to be able to hear, and using that to be able to find people a new way to hear people, and by using that new way of hearing, using a facial kind of the nerves in the face, to use those ways and the nerve endings like an electrical pathway, almost like it's, like wiring, and having those nerves be, in essence, almost like a wireless way to use those in a form of as a wire for electricity, to, in the same way it's used for blood, to try to use it for electrical impulses, because our bodies do, and brain do use electrical impulses to work properly. And that's why it's not really talked about, but that's why a lot of the stuff works so well. And words like, even though we don't hear words like frequencies enough, but with Havana syndrome, it's finally being discussed in an open way, even for CNN and Fox News to talk about it. And that's the weird part. So, but anyway, the Radiohead protocols, and look it up. And it describes this fellow that, I think it's Patrick, but it's Puharich, and how he was starting with this creation of, and it shows some different patents and the numbers of these patents that was helped in the making of this V2K technology. And how strange it is. It doesn't matter the size of the city, or big or small town, that this just flies in the face of everything that the people in your city and town would claim that they stand for. It doesn't matter liberal, conservative, humanist. I mean, to use this type of a new type of torture, to use a new type of electricity, and to use that for healing people, but to spend billions of that same money in a way to find ways to torture people. And that's what our elected officials are going with, the covering up of this information. Because they know, after Bill Clinton's admission in 95, that our government used to do that, but now we've, in essence, learned better, and that people should be compensated. And it's like, whereas they used to say, well, it's national security to not talk about it and pay people off, not non-disclosures. And for have Bill Clinton admit, yes, it was wrong back then, and it's wrong now, and it shouldn't be done. And I don't even think the Patriot Act I think that's null and void now too. I don't think President Trump reenacted it at the time, but we don't, when you're on this side of it, I'm just glad for groups like Freedom for Targeted Individuals, and Ella Free and Dr. Matt. I had this since the mid 80s. Just this shock to my side. And you don't know what to call it. It just feels like a heart attack. It feels when you're 16, 17 years old and you feel like you're having a heart attack, objectively you're supposed to be too young to be having this, but you're still doubling over in pain for a good 5 to 10 minutes, and then it happens again, but then it starts to alleviate, and but then it happens again a few days later. And it keeps doing this scenario for weeks. And you go to the doctors and nobody tells you, or in my case, in North Dakota, I was going to a Bible college and they're asking, do you have problems pooping? And I was like, bowel movements. And I didn't know what a bowel movement was. It was like, well, do you shit? It's like, well, yeah, I have no problem with that. Thinking it could be gas or, gas in your stomach or whatever. And it's like, but nobody told me anything about microwave radiation or pulse. The idea of being a guinea pig, especially when you come from a very religious town, very conservative in its values, the whole, what I'm talking about. The very conservative, religious, even our schools, we got 3 grade schools, and every one of them have this vacation Bible schools. Well, once a week, the kids are allowed to go to, parents can sign a waiver if they don't want their kids to go to it, to be, have them exposed to that type of religious teaching or something. But most parents just kind of go along with it. And they go to a vacation Bible school, the whole, pro-life, traditional family values, the whole bit. But then to have them and the police go along with a brand new torture technology where they get money, lots of money, and to torture people, a brand new way, not to use this new type of technology and brilliance to heal people. I mean, I'm sure they do some of that somewhere too, to make a new type of medicine or something, biofeedback or however, telemetry or, different things, but to use this in a way to torture people. And in my case, they've been doing this for decades. I didn't know, for 30 some odd years. It wasn't until 2015, 2016 where they started doing the thing with holding up the cameras and taking your picture and your video. And the weird thing is I never had any enemies. So most people, they have something going on. They have all this negative, attention suddenly pointed towards them. And they don't know, well, what did I do? Or they can find something in their past memory and it's like, well, maybe it's because of, maybe it's this. In my own case, I literally my whole life, I didn't have any enemies. I never did anything to piss anybody off. I might have dated a couple, a lady, but still monogamous, but, it wasn't anybody that was with anybody at the time or nothing like that. They were either single or already divorced or on their way to be divorced. So it's not like there was any kind of behind the back stuff. There is nothing. I didn't have any enemies, whatever. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't scheme or do anything that I thought could hurt anybody. And I just knew I was in constant pain on my side. And I was very, very, very thankful that my doctor sent me to a specialist, and the specialist tried different things and got me. So probably the most thankful people in my life. I just knew I was in pain. I didn't know what caused it, but I was very, very, very thankful that at least that happened. And I have to admit, in all the 30 some odd years, I never once had the idea or thought that I was being used as a guinea pig or experimented on in some program. It wasn't until I started getting the V2K, the hearing the voice through the floorboard, and then you meet other people talking about directed energy weapons, Havana syndrome, in essence, being shot at different parts of your brain, your head, your organ. And the truth of the matter is, then it can do it to other parts of your body. Shot in your stomach, your lower back, your knee, and toes, even individual toes. And it was funny because I would hear people talk about this. I had never heard of target individuals or V2K or any of this stuff. I just knew somebody was fucking with me, and that's it. At first I'd go outside and have a cigarette, and I'd hear this thing of a shutter sound like somebody was taking my picture. And even then that didn't freak. I just thought it was weird. But if that's what they're going to do, I'm not going to act all weird and freak out. I'm just going to keep having my cigarette outside, and they'll find out I'm not a threat, who or whatever it is. I'm not going to react or act out, or which is, you can tell that's kind of what their thing is. And then they, I'd go upstairs in my apartment, and you can hear people like, why doesn't he come down here? He knows we're down here. He knows we're talking about him. And when you have V2K, this is happening. You can hear him. It's clear, even though it's very subtle. It's not imaginary. I mean, it's, in my case, I didn't think for a second it was God or spirits. I knew it was some weird technology. And I am not technologically or computer or tech savvy. I'm just not. I wish I was. I'd love to be smart that way, but I spend all my time, of all things, studying theology and apologetics, that kind of stuff, Got a new hat. That doesn't look very good anyway, but I don't care. Anyway, and for them to go along, and it's just when you are in this and you have it for 30 some odd years, I remember thinking, waiting, well, maybe if I, go to heaven or whatever, then I can ask God, well, what caused it? That was the first thing I was going to, everybody thinks they're going to have a one-on-one with God, and God's going to tell them the deepest, or you'll find out, whatever it is. If you're raised in Jewish, Christian, is maybe Islamic too, you just want to know the answers to these issues. And it's like, well, what caused it? Thankfully, now I'm alive and I know what it is. A lot of people don't have that luxury. They've already died or passed on or taken their own life. And it is so weird for a conservative Christian, pro-life, emphatically conservative Christian, pro-life town like Dallas, to have not only covered this up for 30 some odd years at the time that I found out, but them after I fell out, and they almost got what they wanted, almost. I fell out and had to learn to walk again. Not once did anybody talk to me, tell me what was going on. Not shame, not guilt, not, boy, this is wrong, this is unethical, this is against everything we claim we stand for. Nope, not one person. And then I had to learn to walk, and I started walking, and I started getting back to work, and just step by step, week after week, month after month. Now it's been some years, and it's like, and then just like it's what the plan is, do something happens to where you end up, getting fired. And that I couldn't go to see. I had, because all these doctors throughout the nation started around 2015, started not prescribing this, and that's why I had to go to get pain meds, because of the side pain, because of what directed energy weapons, the same thing, and they even went and showed it, because you could hear them saying, and that's us, we're doing that to you, and it feels like a little finger rubbing up against the heart organ. They can actually do that to make it feel like just like that, and then verbally say, yep, that's us, we're doing that to you. And it's just like, and then out of the blue, they can say, we can even do headaches. I never get headaches, but then they did this. I was thinking about it, and then they just out of the blue started giving me one. And now you can think of it. I'm thinking about it right now, but I'm not getting it. But it's like at that time, they're like, yep, we can cause this too. And then they started giving me a headache. And then for about 30 seconds, I was thinking, it's like, this is what they're talking about. V2K, the heart dues, directed energy weapons. And the headache. And it's like, yep, that's us, V2K. Yep, that's us. We're doing that. I think my mom's here. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. So this stuff's real. Anyway, look up that Radio Protocols. It's real. And it talks about the origin of V2K. All right, this is Alan. I'll talk to you later. Bye.